What's up, Simonics, and welcome back to a new quick win. A few weeks ago, Capacitor 3 was released, and did you already upgrade your application? No, perhaps not, because you waited for this migration guide. So today I will show you how to update Capacitor 3 Ionic application for both Android and iOS. For iOS, it's a bit more complicated. For Android, well, it's okay. And from the code side of Ionic, I will also show you all the necessary steps to update the packages used in your application. As always, this quick win is on the Ionic Academy. If you're not yet a member, go check it out, ionicacademy.com, my place to help you with everything Ionic, including this Capacitor 3 migration. Let's do this. Alright, we're not starting today's quick win with a new application because most likely you came here because you want to migrate your own application, and therefore I just picked one of my old application which is using some old version 2.x of Capacitor, a little bit old Angular version, and we see the different versions. Now the first step we're gonna do is update our dependencies. And we can do this by running npm install capacitor CLI latest and capacitor core latest. This should update your package JSON and install the version 3.0, or perhaps if you're going through this in the future, it should be some version above 3. Well, perhaps you're watching this if you're using capacitor 4 in the very distant future, but let's say usually it should have something with a 3 in it. Capacitor 3 now also uses TypeScript, or a new version of TypeScript. My package is using actually 3.9.5, that should be fine. You could also go ahead and install TypeScript 4, but be careful, since if you have some old Angular version like I do have with Angular 10, Angular 10 actually doesn't support TypeScript 4. So we will stick to that. Now we can change some basics as well. And the first thing is I'm gonna create a copy of this capacitor config. And with capacitor 3, we can now use capacitor config.ts instead, which is quite cool. Because previously you just had this bunch of JSON in here. You could never really know what you could do. Now what you can do is create a config like this. So const config type capacitor config, and then you go ahead and create your TypeScript configuration. Actually, it uses most of the same stuff, but you see you get nice code completion for all these things. And you can migrate your existing one. I will bring in the rest for now, as I really don't want to type all of this. It could look like this, and you can easily dive into the capacitor config interface to see all the supported values in here. Very helpful, very cool. Now we can get rid of this. The only thing that wasn't working for me with the type config, and I'm just gonna call this one backup. I'm not sure if this will remove it. With the TypeScript configuration, I had problems using the Ionic cap run iOS live reload command. I don't know if that's still a case. Let's see. For me, it looks like actually it looks pretty good. Okay, yeah, the iOS, yeah. Okay, that's fine. I feel like they fixed this. Because previously, I really want to remove this test.json. When I ran this the first time, I had problems as the TS configuration wasn't really accepted, and then I tried to add the capacitor platform again, and all kinds of crazy things happened. But it looks like live reload is working once again as well. Okay, you've updated your package JSON, you've updated perhaps your capacitor config. You can actually stay on JSON if you right now don't want to do it, but I really recommend you do it at some point in the near future. Now, changes in terms of capacitor packages. If you now go to this, you will see capacitor core has no export member, camera photo, plugins is deprecated. Yes, exactly, all of this is deprecated. And you now have to go through your application and basically comment this out. The only thing that we really can use from Capacitor core is this one. So Capacitor from add Capacitor core. I was using Capacitor in this application to convert a file source, and that is still inside the core package. But all of the other packages, for example, I use camera file system storage, all of them are now in separate packages. So what you need to do is you need to install them like this: add Capacitor camera, add Capacitor file system, add Capacitor storage. You can find all of them somewhere. Let me find this. I just have this Capacitor, this issue open, which highlights pretty nice where the package was moved, but there's also the default Capacitor updating guide for plugin imports. There are a few changes to some plugins. We will talk about one of them soon. Otherwise, you can simply always find the plugin APIs right here. This is the list, and if you click on one, you will see that you now need to install that separate package, which makes Capacitor itself a bit smaller, and we don't automatically import all the plugins that we might even not need. So instead of destructuring the plugins object, you now need to change this to import everything from its own package. Basically, it will look like this: camera file system file storage from the packages that we just added. Now, on top of that, we see a few changes: camera photo, deprecated use photo, file system directory, deprecated use directory. So I'm going to change this one to directory and this one to photo. And most likely you need to go through your files. You can just replace, really just find the places where something was used. File system is now directory. Just go through everything in your files. For me, it's pretty easy since I basically got all the Capacitor stuff in this one file, and Visual Studio Code gives me a nice hint where I need to replace something. I could even do this with search and replace, but I wanted to do this kind of manually. Okay, our plugins are ready for Capacitor 3. One more thing that I wanted to tell you about the plugins. Can we just bring this quickly back? Where did we come from? Right here. So for the plugin imports, please jump to that. There's a little change for the storage plugin. And be cautious, data migration required. In fact, there's a simple method to call Migrate. I'm not sure what this function will do under the hood. I'm just gonna add this. So storage migrate. Really not sure how to handle this in the best way. This action is non-destructive, but I really don't want to run this all the time. So if you have some kind of version check logic, you could easily check if like the previous version was 2 and now 3, and then just run this once, or simply set a flag inside the storage itself or Ionic storage that you migrated to Capacitor 3, so you're only running this code, part of this code, only once. But anyway, I don't think it will do any harm if you just keep it in here. Okay, so after the initial setup, you go through all your files, you change all those imports, you install the new packages and change perhaps some interfaces, and then fix maybe things like storage migration, or take a list at these things if any other breaking change is in your application or needs to be changed. And now it gets really interesting. That part was kind of hard. I looked at the upgrade guide, and you see this is the iOS section, and you scroll and you scroll and you get a really bad feeling for all those changes. But let's do this together. npx cap open iOS, because we need to apply a few changes in the native project. First of all, you should make sure that the CocoaPods version you got is something above 1.8. I even got 1.10, didn't knew they were that far. So make sure you update your pod version to at least 1.8. Once you got this, open your project, the Xcode project, and navigate to the build settings for your app. And the first thing we're going to change is the deployment target. We can find it here. It's currently iOS 11. The guide says please change it to 12. I don't have 12. That's always good if you don't have the settings a guide recommends, but I picked 12.1 in another application and it worked. So make sure that it's something above 12. I fear to use 13, so I will just use the thing that's closest to the guide, which was 12.1. On top of that, we need to change our pod file. We can do this in here. You can do it inside your usual IDE. Doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is that we want to change this line since we're not using iOS 11 anymore. When they're using 12, and in my case I actually use 12.1, so I'm gonna do a 12.1 in here. I think that should be correct. Another step that we need to take inside the Xcode project, once again, go to targets and use for Swift language. This should be, I think, 5, right? Good that it's already in my project, so we don't need to change anything in here. Now another tricky part comes, and that is the file structure here changed a bit. Right now we can see public is in this folder here, but it's in the wrong position. They changed the order. So what you need to do is click delete on the public folder and hit move to trash. We don't want that. It anyway is an automatically generated folder from the Capacitor sync command, so don't really worry about this. You're not gonna destroy your application. And next thing, click on app. So really go to the app folder and click new, I think new group. No, it's not new group. It's, oops. Oh, damn. I destroyed everything. It should be new file, I guess, or add files. No, it's actually add files to app. That was the menu point. Looked kind of strange, but that's right. Make sure copy items if needed, create folder references is toggled, and then hit new folder and call this one public once again. Click create, click add, and then a new public folder will appear here. It's, I think, a level higher. And that's also the reason why we need to apply a little change to the git ignore file. So previously it ignored the app build folder and the app public folder. Now our application is not in app public anymore. Right now it's in app public. Previously, I don't know what they used, kind of reference or something, but this is the new path that should be ignored. On top of that, they also ignored or recommended to ignore the derived data folder where they put some native capacitor builds into. Okay, that's actually, I think, almost everything that we need to do for iOS, and now we can update our iOS version. So npm install capacitor iOS latest. The version I had before is 2.4, so this should install most likely 3.0. Let's see. You're doing this, fine. Please hurry up. Yes, there we go, capacitor 3. And on top of that, we can now run the npx cap sync iOS command. At this point, you're like, oh, that was quite easy for iOS. Well, no, we're not yet finished. Not yet. Let's get back to either Xcode or your IDE, doesn't really matter, and get into the app delegate because they deprecated the, what's it called? The cap bridge, as far as I know. So in 2 of our functions, we need to change a bit. So the handle open URL is now deprecated. Instead, the statement is application delegate proxy shared application cannot find. That's really not what I want to see at this point. That usually looks like I did a mistake at some point because that shouldn't be here. Let me quickly do the second statement as well and see if that one gets read as well. This should be in the following function right here. where we also got the cap bridge. Let's put this here. Okay. In this function, you're happy with the application delegate proxy, and in here, you're not. That looks kind of strange to me. Okay, now you're unhappy. Anyway, let's finish the changes and then I will find out why this is actually red. Perhaps we just need to run some sort of clean. That sometimes really helps, but I don't think this will fix the issues. Anyway, but next to the two changes, two more changes, or actually three more changes. This one right here is also using the cap bridge, so we're gonna comment this out and instead use this line. And then we can scroll a bit further down. You can find all of these lines also in the link below the video for Academy members, or also in the Capacitor documentation. And this one is basically, it looks like it's just multiple lines, but it should be just one line. And the last one is in here. And then everything is finally changed. Is there still something red in here? No such module capacitor? That doesn't sound too good. Let's quickly check our pod file. Did we destroy maybe the pod file? Platform iOS 12.1. That looks fine to me. I added the git ignore. I added the public folder, which has now our build. Let's just try to run it. Well, I closed Xcode, I restarted everything, and then I just ran a new sync from iOS, from the Ionic command line, and now my application succeeded. So the changes we had in here and everything that we did really worked. There was nothing else necessary. So since I ran the migration command, I had some folders that I added to capacitor storage. I also had images in those folders in this application. I don't know if Capacitor somehow messed this up or the files from the system got removed. I really don't know. I guess most likely it's my fault, because overall the information that I added to Capacitor storage is here, only the file references are missing. So most likely that was my problem with the file path in those applications. But I also did this before. Without using the storage migrate command, and in that case I had no folders. So if you don't use the migrate command when using capacitor storage, your complete data might be gone. And now I also feel kind of adventurous to run the live reload command once again, because everything's working pretty fine so far, and I got my application here. I'll use this device. I will just give it a try in the background and see if this still works. Just a quick information: if you want to run a native capacitor build, you can now run npx cap run iOS directly. This will run one build. So build your application really with the native tools. You can also use this for Android and directly deploy it to either a simulator, emulator, or a connected device to test the native functionality. But this is no live reload. If you want to use something with live reload, you still need to run the command that I used in here, Ionic cap run iOS live reload. So not just npx cap run, we're using the capacitor through the Ionic command line in that case. And I will just see how far this gets us with our live reload. I really hope to make this work, because then I'm ready to migrate really everything to Capacitor 3. Actually, I feel like it's already running. Let's give it a try. Okay, Capacitor run iOS no sync target development server is up and running. I can confirm the local application is already running. I will watch out for changes on my device. In the meantime, we can already head over to Android. For Android, it's gonna be a lot easier. Well, yeah, kinda a lot. We can start by installing the latest Capacitor Android version, which should update once again your package.json, where we had Capacitor iOS 3. You should now also have Capacitor Android 3, at least in a second when this is finished. Once the installation is done, we can already continue by using the npx cap sync command for Android. I don't know if it's necessary at this step or if we could already do this in the end, but it was recommended for that step, and I kind of want to follow the guide on that. Let's see if my live reload. Well, the development server is running for my device. I don't think that is already. Let's see, recent Kappa. Can I already do a change and see the live reload on a device? I don't think so. I see the update in here. Perhaps I might need to redeploy this. Yeah, that should most likely be, or is most likely the problem. If you're using live reload, you usually have to open Xcode at least once, deploy the application to your device, and then you can just leave it there. You can even then close the command. The device will still use the server in the background. You could run the live reload command for Android, deploy it to your Android command, and then you got your browser, Android and iOS, basically all downloading your Ionic application from the same IP, from your local IP, and then you got live reload on all the devices. I will just stop it. I feel like this is definitely gonna work now because I had the problems at some other point. So we're gonna close this if we're allowed and move to our Android implementation. So npx cap sync Android, once again syncing your files to Android. And now we need to get into a few Android files. First of all, we need to open Android Studio. And from Android Studio, you can at the top select File Project Structure, because we're gonna update our Gradle version. It's not available while Studio is updating. Is Android Studio taking so long to update for you as well? Whenever I open it, it really is. It takes so long. Plugin update recommended. Well, I will just click this, and then I got the awesome wheel, so let's wait. Okay, reason why this is so slow might be up here, so let's quickly finish this video. What we need to do within the project structure is update our Android Gradle plugin version to 4.2. Where is it? Why so many versions? And the Gradle version to 7.0. That's the wrong direction. We want to go up. Oh no. Okay, there's 7.0. Then we can hit apply and we can hit OK, and most likely Gradle is now syncing something in the background. This might take some time, especially as my hard drive is almost full. In the meantime, we can do a little change. There are three things for Android. First one is to go to your main Java Android activity where you usually add. No, I don't want anything. Plugins from other people. That shouldn't be necessary anymore with Capacitor 3. I'm not sure about the plugins that not yet implement the standards for Ionic 3, so I would be careful at this point. But from what I've seen, you definitely don't need this init block anymore. The plugin now goes simply into this one, or if the plugin is ready for Capacitor 3, you don't need that part anymore. But be a bit careful, since I don't know about community plugins and whether they're already ready for Capacitor 3. On top of that, we can go to the Android manifest file, and by default, Capacitor included a lot of permissions that your app actually might not need. In my case, I'm using camera, photos, and files, and of course internet, that's fine, but I really don't need anything with geolocation. I need the network API, that's fine. I'm not recording any video or audio, so you can get rid of all these things if they are inside your application. Just check out the plugins that you're using and the permissions that you need. I think they will also be added dynamically in the future. No, I'm not sure about that. Be careful with the permissions, but you can definitely get rid of all the permissions that your application doesn't need. And the third change for Android is inside the I don't think the build Gradle, although for the build Gradle, Android Studio continuously told me to remove JCenter, so I'm just gonna do it. Not sure if this will break anything, but that was the warning I got, so I'm just gonna remove this as well. This is the capacitor, the Gradle, and the variables. This is the place that you want to change as well. I will bring in a new configuration. Let's compare them. Basically what changed is the compile and the target SDK version to 30. And then we got a few new Android X entries in here. Also in the default config, they didn't have the Android X, I think, material version entry, or they said you can remove this. But this one was actually necessary for the camera, and you need to be careful. I think the Android X browser version is necessary if you're using the browser plugin. So don't follow all the advice here, or be careful and check which plugins you're using. But otherwise, you can basically update to something like this. Only make sure you're including the right entries for the plugins. But usually from what I've seen, if you go to the plugin API, let's say camera, permission, yeah, exactly, here inside variables, it will tell you which variables are necessary. Android X material version, and that's exactly the one I included in here. Do I also got this one, EXIF interface version? I didn't add that one. Interesting. Let's add this. I don't know if I need this. I was able to run it without, so I'm just gonna include it just in case. Okay, that's everything about the variables, about the permissions and your main activity. And once you're done with this, you should be fine. Is there something like clean project in here as well? It is. Did I already run some kind of build? I will definitely once again run an Ionic build and npx cap sync Android. One note as well. You might ask yourself why I used npx. I usually use this, but I sometimes also just use cap run iOS. If you use a command like this, cap run iOS, let's see, cap -- version, it will use your globally installed Capacitor version. And since I globally still use Capacitor 2 for my CLI, that's gonna get you into problems. Once you're using npx, you're using the local CLI of your project that's defined inside your package JSON. So npx cap, can I run -- version in here as well? That will give us 3.0. So be aware of this difference and use it with npx in your local project. If your global version of something is different. That's just a quick tip, as I ran it without npx and then I got a lot of issues, so that was the way to go. And now I might be able to run this on my device. Could not find flat buffers, searched in. I feel like I shouldn't have removed the JCenter stuff in here. I really I will just add it again. I don't know if that made any change to our application. Once again, let's run a clean project build. Build configure, please remove usage of JCenter. Okay, but I'm fine with a warning if that gets rid of the error. At least it looks like we're not getting that error once again. So thanks Android Studio for the super helpful warning here to remove JCenter. That was definitely not a good idea in this case. Let's wait until the build is finished so I can confirm that Android also works. And there we go. The application is running on my Android device as well. Build successful. I didn't change anything in the meantime. It just works. I'm not gonna go through this because I didn't have any data in here. But once again, if you use capacitor storage, be aware of the migration. And now we got Capacitor 3. We got it working for iOS. We got it for Android. We have seen that even with the TypeScript configuration, the live reloads seem to work once again. So all applications are fine and we can wait for Capacitor 4. Alright, and that's it for today. We've successfully upgraded our Ionic applications from Capacitor 2 to Capacitor 3. It works fine for both iOS and Android. The process is for both platforms a bit tricky, and I really hope that in the future this is gonna be a bit easier, because it really doesn't feel too good to change those folders on iOS inside Xcode and add or change the app delegate stuff. For Android, it was actually okay. We sometimes just need to change a few variables to use the latest Gradle versions. That wasn't too hard. In terms of the project changes, this was also like a one-time change, since they moved away from having all the plugins in the core and now everything's in their own package, which will make life easier in the future, as it's just Capacitor Core is really just the Capacitor Core and no other plugins in there. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and hit the subscribe button for all upcoming Ionic videos, and of course check out the Ionic Academy, my place to help you with everything Ionic. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a great day, upgrade your applications and migrate to Capacitor 3, and I will catch you next week like always. So happy coding, Simon.